Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Aceikith Gaming. I'm back. Welcome to placement game number 7. So you're seeing this as a post-game commentary, and the reason is because some of the footage during this game, it ended up switching to a scene that basically a lot of the game was not seen. So apologies for that it's not a live commentary as what I would have liked, but I would have partially considered maybe just updating you guys on what had happened during that game, if this wasn't such a good game to actually at least bring up. So that is why I'm doing it still as a post-game commentary instead. So we're playing Urgot, which we've already played Urgot once in placements. And although the lane phase was a little bit difficult, we did end up actually just giving our team time to be able to scale to the mid game, and then basically made the enemy carry useless. This matchup though is going to be very much different. As you can see, I've actually taken Doran's shield instead of Doran's blade because for the most part I do feel that this Gnar, if they play it right, is going to basically bully me a lot during the lane phase. So Urgot obviously can in definition be a lane bully for the first couple of levels or so, but once they get from level 4 until they get their ultimate, there's not really much that they can do. And a Gnar is supposed to be a lane bully in top lane. So the main part for me in the game is if I can try and get an early kill, then that's brilliant, but that's not my primary objective. The main thing that I want to do is survive lane phase, be useful for the rest of my team, and then group up. We've got a Zac, we've got a Malzahar, with a Kai'Sa and a Zyra. That's a lot of damage with not just AD damage, but great AP damage, and then a Zac to basically come in and start up the team fight. That's very good as well, and I can just basically keep somebody else locked up as well. And if I can get the enemy carry locked down, that's even bigger, and then maybe do an ult on them, so that way there's no way of hope that they can get away, and then basically give a huge problem. So our team does scale a lot better as well, so you kind of would think that maybe the enemy team want to be very aggressive, because there's not much they can do, I believe, late game. But of course, they do have Caitlyn and a Brand to fall on. So it's just a matter of don't feed the lane phase. You know, just be sensible. If we find an early pick, then that's brilliant. But, you know, the main thing is just be reliable. Unfortunately, the enemy team do just get first blood on enemy Kai'Sa. I actually missed my E there. As you probably noticed, the Gnar ended up using an ability, so in that way, like he actually has kind of like a dash in a way. By hopping on top of a minion, whether it's a friendly or an enemy. Now, that is going to be very, very easily seen, as you'll probably see very shortly. He uses it again. I actually use my E, and that way he flips the other way entirely. Really, what I should have done is just basically started using my W, and then he can't really do anything at that point. The Zac is going to try and go in and try and confirm the kill, at least, and there you go. So the Gnar using an ability for the sake of it, rather than using it as an ability that effectively will not allow me to be able to do much at all. But also at the same time, he's not really using what his good power is, and that is that he is able to kite an Urgot, which is one of Urgot's main weaknesses, is that he's not very good with trying to duel with a ranged top lane. Gnar is one, Lilia is another. Lilia is probably one of Urgot's worst matchups, but also you can get some cheese top laners like Vayne as an instant as well. So yeah, the enemy Warwick actually disconnected. I don't know why. There you go, he's back in. Guess maybe he had a slight issue with his connection. The enemy Gnar is actually now going to try and fake me in as much as he can. All I'm wanting to do really is just basically force the Gnar into his tower, so that way he can't do anything, really, to be honest. So I'm probably sitting on a decent amount of gold, so the best thing to do, as I can now see the Warwick is there, is just back. you know, Gnar and Warwick are both early game champions that will fall off eventually. Urgot, Warwick is actually good against both of my main champions. Obviously, Mordekaiser, you saw that in, I believe it's the last game that you would have seen. We ended up going against a Warwick top lane, and we played Mordekaiser into that one. We didn't do that well overall in that one, but it was just basically the same strategy as what we had during preseason. Don't allow it to scale too far ahead. Although we did everything of what we could do, what we could have done, everybody else just is basically allowing it to get too far ahead. And sometimes, you know, that's the whole point of that's all part of solo queue. You can't control what your teammates do. And that's exactly what happened there. So we're now back into lane now. Now, I will be rushing a Black Cleaver, although it's not the best of items to be going, apart from maybe, like now you can kind of build it against, because it does build some tank items later, but it does get naturally tanky when it transforms into Gnar. But also, Warwick could get naturally tanky. Some Warwicks build Ravenous Hydra nowadays because the item's just busted. But also at the same time, they could build a Titanic Hydra. And with all the health that he could be building, Black Cleaver is just a decent item to be building into. Really, you know, on an overall basis. So I'm just gonna force the wave back into the enemy tower again, and basically look to try and see if I can maybe find the Warwick. Not to necessarily engage on him, but to see where he is on the map. Warwick will most possibly look to try and get one or two early objectives. At this point, I do not know why the Gnar is looking to engage on me. At the same time, I don't want to take too much damage, but the Gnar does, yeah, it's a little bit questionable what he's doing. He is actually doing a little bit of damage, but as you can see, because I have an execute, it's basically, he's only ever going to end one way, and that is with the Urgot being on top. So the Gnar is 0-2, we are 1-0-1, so obviously we did pick up an assist in the first gank from the Zac. But it does seem like that top lane is near enough set and sorted as long as I don't do anything silly. And that's the primary objective, like I said earlier on, is don't do anything silly. There is no need for it. As you can see, the Gnar is trying to look for me. I'm just going to back all the way up, just in case Warwick might be looking to make a cheese gank into top lane, maybe. But yeah, a good start so far. Unfortunately, our bot lane isn't doing too hot. They're both 0 and 2. I wouldn't honestly recommend a Kai'Sa and a Zyra going together, but they both can work in their own way. Our Malzahar as well started off a tier, and I do believe they're actually going, if I remember, Mana Mune to then transform it into Muramana. The Kai'Sa is, and the Malzahar is actually going out of ages. I did actually check their profile to see if they actually do vary the build, because obviously, as you know, I do play Malzahar in mid lane, and I play Leandri's Anguish. I'm yet to try it out. And yeah, and now just going very greedy on the wave. I actually end up doing a bad E, I do overall. So yeah, so that is my bad for that. That was actually my first bad engage all game. I would say, really, to be honest. Completely missed the E in what is supposed to have been a very good E to actually get, considering the fact that he was being so greedy for that cannon. You know, really, to be honest, he should have died for that, really, to be honest. So, but, you know, it's not a bad thing. I'm going to continue looking to try and see if we can find the Warwick anywhere. And there you go, right on cue, the Warwick is there now. This could possibly be a 2v2, but we should, although Warwick is quite fed, if me and the Zac can actually do something, and as you can see, I'm going to go in for it and go very aggressive on the Warwick, because although Warwick does a lot of damage, he's not tanky, and Urgot does do quite a lot of damage, as you can see there. And I'll get a double kill of that. So at this moment, I'm pretty fed, partially because of the Gnar not playing lane phase very well, but also in that particular circumstance, I just went aggro and prioritised the Warwick, prioritised the main threat, which right now is Warwick, as far as I'm concerned right now. Caitlyn will be a little bit harder to deal with, but I won't be dealing her right this second. And all of this has been done before we even reach level 9. Obviously, level 9 is when the main power spike for Urgot comes into play. But, you know, we're 301 and we didn't even hit level 9 yet. So to actually already get this big of a lead when we weren't even level 9, that makes us possibly a primary target. So I do need to keep my watchful eye on how I play from this point forward. So I do get a black cleaver, and we'll build depleted steel caps, and then possibly go into Eclipse next, if I remember correctly. Now, obviously, with the updates, if you may remember, to Jack Show the protein on this patch, Jack Show's not very good for Urgot now, unfortunately, although he would make him a little bit on the tanky side. It's not going to do that much for him, really, overall. Eclipse is just going to do so much more. Although I'm going to be very squishy, I'm able to do so much more just by building Eclipse. I am. Especially where I'm fed. I will probably build kind of tanky a little bit later on as well. If we do get to that stage. Like, it might be just set in stone. But obviously, bot lane is still troubled, obviously, right now. So we've got to bear that in mind. So, but we are quite strong, nevertheless. You know, 301 as an Urgot, you know, before we even hit level 9 is a big deal. It is, you know, he hadn't even reached his strongest point in the game yet. But I do see myself now as a bit of a target. And rightfully so. You know, I'm fed. I'm the only champion, as well as obviously the Zac, but he's in the jungle. But as well as that, I am a big target because I am quite fed at the moment. So if I end up having the Warwick and the Akali coming up the top lane, I could be struck quite easily because I don't really have anything to go against the Akali because she has so much movement, which is another one of Urgot's weaknesses. The Warwick gets the shutdown on the Zac down in bot lane. A 3v3, I believe, in bot lane. I do get stunned there, but I'm not sure why the Gnar is even trying to fight, and maybe, really, to be honest, I should be looking to be much more aggressive and saying to the Warwick, if you want this Gnar to do anything this game, you need to come up to top lane. But, you know, I should be really utilising that, you know, and also seeing that we're not doing well overall as a whole team. You know, maybe he's actually saying to them, you need to come up here to be able to deal with me. So, you know, that's something that maybe I should be looking at. You know, it's sometimes when I am being aggressive, you know, or when I am ahead, is to try and stretch that lead even further. Because that's one of the small things I would say that is not quite so good in my arsenal, is that when I am ahead, I'm not looking to snowball that lead necessarily. I tend to play a little bit more passively when I get to that stage. But that's because I don't want to throw away a good lead. So I end up making a mistake. So I could have taken a tower plate because I was thinking that the Gnar was waiting for me. But instead, the Gnar actually ended up going back for some reason. And I'm not sure exactly why. He does actually have TP up. But why he ended up going back and then not using TP when there was a minion wave actually at the tower, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it was because he was thinking that he could use TP somewhere else shortly afterwards. Maybe group up with his team, just try and be useful in there. But then that opens up top lane to an Urgot. That does. So I am going to buy some more items. Double longsword. So that will be towards the serrated dirk to go into Eclipse. That will. So, but yeah, a lot of damage from Urgot obviously so far. He is naturally squishy for a top laner. He is, but we can build tankier in the late game. We can. So like we could build a 4-mail, which is great against a Warwick. We could build a Force of Nature. We could do to go against the Brand and the Akali. But it honestly does depend what I feel personally is the bigger threat. Right now, I would say the Warwick is the biggest threat, but he will fall off. You know, and as long as he's not doing any high levels of damage, then that's not so bad. The Gnar ends up flashing. You know, like, he did play lane phase a little bit on the bad side, but, you know, like, obviously, you know, if he can just remain useful for the whole team, then, you know, it doesn't matter so much. And that's one of the little annoying things that I have noticed with top lane, is that you can do well in top lane, but if the rest of your team doesn't do so well, there's not really anything you can actually do. You know, because most fights naturally happen in bot lane. So, you know, there's that carry potential that, you know, unfortunately, does go down in the bad end. You know, and that's one of the small things that I've had to learn, unfortunately. I lay a very deep ward in the Warwick's jungle, by the way. Because I am actually, at this very moment now, thinking of doing another play with another Herald. So that's my idea, is possibly try and go for another Herald play with the Zac. Zyra's hanging around as well. Possibly moved away from bot lane because Kite is not doing very well. Zyra, unfortunately, does get picked by the Akali. So it doesn't make our situation any easier. So I'm just going to try and push in top lane as hard as I can. Force a TP from the Gnar, which is arguably a good thing. He has now picked his mythic item, which is Trinity Force. Arguably, maybe he should have been going Divine Thunderer to use that on the Zac, because the Zac does get really tanky. He does. Like, he's possibly, arguably, one of the most tankiest of tanks in the entire game. And it's not even just on the fact of, oh yeah, he's tanky. He's also obnoxiously strong with damage as well as being tanky. And that's one of the things that a lot of players, including myself, just don't get. If you're obscenely tanky, why are you still doing all this damage? That's because the AP scalings on Zac's W is obnoxious. Basically, they did a change with his W and made a mistake with it. And even to this day, several patches ago they did this mistake, it's still not being fixed. Zyra gets a double kill after getting shut down by the Akali. Not long after that, actually gets a good double kill on bot lane. So Zyra's actually doing quite well herself, as well as me and the Zac. Obviously, I'm not being quite so aggressive anymore, because I've noticed that us as a team are quite strong. Yes, the Warwick's strong, but that's the only champion I would say right now is actually very strong indeed. There's a fight now starting to happen, and I noticed that. I'm thinking, Gnar will probably be on his way right now. If he's not, he'd be silly. But thankfully, we do manage to handle it for the most part. But the Gnar, I think, yeah, so the Warwick gets taken down as well by our Zac. Zac is very powerful. And with the brand new mythics, he's actually been taking a decent liking. Yeah, so all four of us are actually now in top lane river now. So I'm just going to get this stuff Scuttle grab, just get that done out of the way. And yeah. So back up to top lane. I don't know where the Gnar went, but I think he went back to just go and get his basic silk out. And Dragon is now up. Now, the reason why Gnar is actually being as aggressive as he is right now is because now he feels like he can fight me, which he probably could if he kites properly. But, you know, I just do so much damage, and as you can see there, I just didn't really care, you know, how much damage he was actually dealing with. And then he does a silly engage like that. Like, if I had actually played this better, I would never have used E until he ulted. Because my E allows me to be able to catch up. And I probably would have even flashed on it. But because I already used my E, there was no way I was catching him. Or at least I shouldn't have been right now. So, level 14, which is quite a high level for this stage in the game, I will say. 20 minutes in now, by the way. So, Zyra is looking pretty good. Zac is looking pretty good. And also, I'm looking pretty good. I am the only person in this game that's still yet to die so far. And when you're trying to kill an Urgot, you're kind of then leaving the rest of the team to be able to do everything. basically where damage is concerned. So if they was to kill me, yes, I do lose a rather large shutdown, but at the same time, they're allowing a Kai'Sa, a Malzahar, and a Zyra to do what they want, basically, which is not ideal. But then at the same time, you're not dealing with an Urgot, you're doing the same thing. You're allowing him to do whatever he wants. So, the Zac is down in bot lane. Kai'Sa did die recently, but I believe the Zac is just so strong. And as you go, he's actually won a 2v1. Although he's low on health, and I think the Akali might kill the Zac. Oh, he's at least killed the Zyra. And yeah, and the Warrior just killed the Zac there, unfortunately. But maybe at this stage in the game, I should look to actually join the rest of my team. You know, and kind of force the Gnar in. But I feel like that maybe if Gnar was actually in the team fight as well, the Gnar would actually start doing more. And I believe that's what the Gnar has actually started doing. That he's now joined up with his team, knowing that he's never going to beat me in a 1v1. But if he can be a bit more useful to the rest of his team, he's at least doing something. Which arguably is the right move. So right now for me, I'm just going to create a lot of pressure if I can. And just basically say to the rest of the enemy team, you need to come up here. And that's exactly what is happening at this stage. Ran though, does not expect me to do that much damage, and neither did I. Because I ended up doing millions of damage straight away. And yeah, so unfortunately I do get shut down because now the entire enemy team is there. But yeah, my first death and 22 minutes into the game. That's not too bad with regards to, obviously, you know, your first death. Obviously, it's badly timed because at this stage, my kind of thinking now is, well, they've killed bot lane, yes, but they still can do decent damage with Warwick, Gnar, and Akali. But I guess maybe in the 3v3 they would never win, so maybe it wouldn't be such a great idea. The Warwick has Russian Ravenous Hydra, which is possibly a... I used to go Titanic Hydra quite a lot on Warwick when I used to play him in the jungle. So, but Ravenous is just so overpowered at the moment that I guess pretty much any AD champion can build it. Like even Anila will actually build it. He does. She does at the moment as well. But you can see how quickly I am actually clearing the wave up. Even though, you know, obviously at the same time I've not even built my Ravenous Hydra myself yet. I could even go Titanic.
Blue team's inhibitor has been destroyed.
So, but now there's a call to try and do Baron. Kai'Sa dies for some reason. Still not sure why. Which to be honest, I guess she just overstayed her welcome. But as a free, most all three, me, the Zac and the Malzahar, there's a lot of DPS in us three. Even with the Kai'Sa, there's a lot in it. And yeah, there's a little bit of overkill going on with the brand. We probably should be saving a Malzahar ult for the Warrior, possibly. But yeah, as you can see, get Baron quite easily. Because we're so far ahead, we don't want to risk anything. Spend the gold that we have, and then start making plays with the Baron buff that we do have. So my idea is to TP to some. If I did have TP to somewhere, that's why the Malzahar is in bot lane. Maybe he's TP too soon and too far up because we're not creating pressure necessarily elsewhere. But my job is to try and create pressure elsewhere. Basically, the idea is have one top, one bot, and 3 mid. They have to answer somewhere. The only problem is that they've answered bot lane before everybody else can get elsewhere, and Malzahar dies because of it. So a little bit unfortunate timing because of that reason, but we can actually do a lot of damage to all 3 lanes. We can, obviously the inhibit's down in mid lane, so that's why the Kai'Sa's up with us. But now just try and clear top lane as fast as possible, get the turret down. But there's nothing that the Warwick can really do at this point. Maybe the Akali can, you know, Akali's actually not that bad against an Urgot if they know how to play it. So like I'm actually, interestingly, I'm actually kind of waiting for an enemy Akali top to be locked in to go against my Urgot possibly. So obviously that will be an interesting matchup at some point if that does happen. But the most important thing is just try and get as far ahead as possible. We're quite far ahead ourselves right now. We're 6-1-1 with a 300 gold bounty. We're also up on farm, and I'm going to continue trying to get as far as possible. I now get a death stance, which will make me tanky while still dealing damage. Death stance is arguably very strong, reasonably strong at the moment. With the next patch that is coming in, I have heard, I won't obviously confirm this, as the Akali dies in a 1v1 to the Akali. Yeah, the Kaita died to a 1v1. I'll get the Warwick though. Get that DPS down. He's going to try and at least ult the Malzahar, try and do something, but he's already dead at that point. He is, to be honest. So nothing that the enemy team can do, pretty much. And this will be Dragon number 3, by the way. So yeah, so a pretty good game for us overall. Obviously, it's been made a little bit more difficult because of the Kai'Sa, but we have kind of pulled it back. We have, you know, the Caitlyn's so worried about healing. Obviously, I can heal a decent amount with going Eclipse, as well as obviously I have Death Stance, which is really good. Also, the Zac does stupid amounts of healing for some unknown reason. But yeah, so the next job is basically just trying to get all the lanes pushed in as much as possible. I believe at this point that the Malzahar is actually going to go right up to the very lane positioning, but Malzahar is waiting for the next wave to come up, which I do honestly find a little bit odd. That he's actually waiting physically for the next lane. Obviously, he won't really lose any health because he does so much damage to the wave, but you know, it does kind of help that, you know, you're pushing the lane up even quicker. Because this could leave us, as you can see now, this has left us now in a little bit of a difficult spot. But I do think about maybe trying to make a play here. So the Akali actually just gets scared and runs away, which, you know, to me I find quite funny, knowing how most Akalis play. And yeah, and for some reason the Gnar is looking to try and get something out of this, but yeah, very weird play. And because of that, it's basically killed the Warwick. Like, the Gnar's silly play has literally killed the Warwick. And the Warwick is so much stronger compared to the Gnar, I would say. But, you know, the Gnar's just basically, you know, he's fed me, obviously. He's fed the Zac, I guess, a little bit maybe. But then that's all of, that's the whole map, you know, I think in general. Particularly more so bot lane has, really, to be honest. So I noticed that the rest of the enemy team is possibly going to be at the base now, trying to clear that up. But at the same time, our objective remains the same as before. Get those lanes pushed in, but we also think about maybe making a play. Again, I'll probably make a preemptive use of E. Instead of me maybe E-ing the Gnar, but I guess that keeps him in, and he basically has no way of escaping. But yeah, of course, at the same time, you know, this is me, you know, just trying to be perfect, you know. Urgot, I do feel, is a very successful champion for me at the moment, considering the fact that I am still new to the champion. And maybe I can actually do a lot more. You know, I can do even more on the champion. You know, my win rate looks to be very good at the moment on the champion. Not just obviously in, you know, ranked games, but also getting ranked games as well. Yeah, not just ranked games, but also normal games as well when I'm playing Urgot with friends. So Baron is up, and that is the next objective that I do want to do. If the Warwick is looking to possibly make a play from there, we can basically just wrecking quite easily. You know, Zac is obnoxiously tanky right now, and there's not really a whole lot that the Warwick can actually do. Like, he's even going Spear Visage just to try and counter the damage from the Zac. Obviously, that would mean the yeah, and I actually get one shot. I do from the Akali, and I would say throughout this entire game, that's the first main mistake that I've made this entire game. I've ended up basically bodying the Warwick, the Akali, and the Gnar. So although the Gnar obviously is not going to be doing anything, the Warwick is going to do a lot. And so is the Akali. Because the Akali, although the rest of the team are quite far behind, the Akali is actually a little bit fed, I've just noticed as well. So she, like, if I had noticed this in game, I probably would have actually built a Force of Nature a little bit earlier, just to counter the Akali. But that was my last item I was looking to go. Right now, I'm actually looking for to build a Sterex, just to help me against that burst damage. That does also help against like the Akali, the Brand, and the Warwick. You know, maybe kind of to the Gnar as well. So I'm going to TP in. I am, just to try and get everything shut down. And yeah, as you can see, just after TPing, I die again in a matter of 5 seconds. Because the Akali one-shots the Malzahar. And then me straight after that because of a Brand ult coming in as well. So yeah, that is quite a lot. Quite a lot more than I would ever expect, I'm going to be honest. So a little bit of a feels bad, man. But, you know, considering the fact that we've done a lot of things and we've not really made any mistakes. This is the first time all game that we've been starting to make mistakes. We have all game. It kind of says that we are doing quite a lot. We are, so now I guess really at this point, what I would be looking to do now is just try and settle down a little bit. You know, 2 deaths in a matter of what, 3 minutes, when I was 9-1 before those 2 deaths. You know, that's quite a bit of a handful, knowing that I was very far ahead, and I believe the shutdown, did it go to Akali possibly? It might have done, which obviously Akali's already fed, so that's a big problem. Cheers. So Akali is a big problem indeed, and everybody should be looking to play with the Akali. The Akali notices this is a bad engage, she wants to go in, so she doesn't even decide to go in. But you know, obviously I die again, but I kill the Brand and the Caitlyn effectively. But at this stage in the game, you know, it's not so bad because obviously, you know, there's me looking to try and, you know, well, I'm wanting to try and end the game soon in case, you know, they look for a good opportunity to basically end the game at any given opportunity. The Akali actually gets shut down as well. But at this very opportune time as well, look at a bot lane where the wave is. It's actually in their base, now attacking the turret. It is. So at this stage now, they should be looking to go back towards the wave, go and fix it and try and push it away. And that's one of the good things that we've been able to do this game, is just keep pressuring their base. You know, like, yes, they're getting a lot more XP, which obviously in the earlier stages of the game is not the greatest thing to do, is giving them extra XP. But if you're able to pressure elsewhere, and we have done, like we lost out on the first 2 dragons, we've got the first 2 dragons, we've now got the last 2, and now we're starting to get some extra pressure elsewhere. We've taken 2 heralds as well on top of that. So the next herald will come out in about another 2 minutes. So and I'm already level 18. Like, I'm very powerful. You know, like even the Kaiser's getting there. But obviously her early game has not helped. She is going a build that is, you know, I do see some Kaisers do. They kind of go a little bit of a hybrid build. They do. So they're mainly AD, but they do go with a Nashus, which helps the damage with her W. Because her W scales very well with AP damage. Which you see some Kaisers actually go full AP. So like going Muramana, they go Seraphs, you know, yeah, Muramana, you know, with something like maybe a crown, I believe, maybe. But now we're looking for an engage. Don't quite get it, but we push them away. We do, and obviously my DPS is quite large, but I don't want to take too much damage. And unfortunately, I don't even get my E on the Akali. Like I will say, this Akali is playing really well so far through this game. She's just been let down by her whole team, you know, I would say. Like the Warwick obviously has started to fall off quite a bit. He has. Obviously, the champion falls off at this stage in the game, but as well, he's been let down massively by the Gnar. Caitlyn and Bran hasn't been able to do very much. But yeah, it's been mainly the Gnar that hasn't really done much for their team. So I'm going to look to base it. The reason why is because Herald is now just spawned. So, and the weird thing is, as you can see, the Warwick is now looking at Baron. I don't believe the Warwick has realised he was just being spotted on a ward. And I will tell you now, at this moment, Gnar and Warwick are looking to sneak in a very cheeky Baron, because they can actually do a lot with just the two of them. And in comes the Akali as well, because obviously Akali's very fast. I end up eating away, but the Kaiser managed to get the perfect Q onto the Akali. And yeah. So you can see how quickly we slay Baron. That was obnoxiously quick for a Baron. That is, but that is pretty much, I believe, game at this stage. It's now just a matter of get the lane pushed up, take the last 2 towers, and take the Nexus. So, you know, a bit of a long game. It's about 38 minutes possibly at this stage. But as you can see, the Caitlyn's not really going to do that much damage to me compared to what I can do anyway. I'll just flash right on top of her and just confirm that kill. And that is pretty much how the game's set. So a very dominant display as Urgot against Gnar. Not obviously being made the easiest by the Kaiser, obviously feeding an early lane phase, but you know the Zac did extremely well. The Zac was actually, I would say, arguably the main carry in this game. You know, and this is the same thing with my own game in placement game number 3. You can carry on a tank. It's just the likelihood of it happening is much lower because you're not really there to deal damage. You're there to CC, you're there to engage, you're there to basically absorb damage. And, you know, that's the difference. Zac also deals an obnoxious amount of damage as well as being tanky, you know. And possibly if they were a different champion, they wouldn't be carrying quite so hard. You know, if you're going to be playing a jungler and you want to play tank junglers, Zac is possibly the best way to go. Probably at this stage right now, you know, like there's some unique mechanics with Zac, but you know he's very, very powerful. He is in the game right now. But that's my second game of Urgot during placements. I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a like. It does help out the channel a lot. And if you do want to see the rest of the placement games, the rest of them are all live commentaries, then please do subscribe to the channel as well. They'll be coming through every day like you have been. As soon as the placement games are finished, they will be going back to the usual amount of videos per day, not the everyday video like you have been seeing recently. This is just because I have a lump sum of videos that I know I can upload one day after another. Plus also, I know you're eager to see how I'm doing during the placement games as well, including those that have been watching on Twitch for the first 5, because the second half of placements was not happening on stream. It was just basically live commentaries that I've recorded in my own time. But otherwise, I'm going to leave it there. Like, comment, subscribe. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time.